the reason we've been so quiet is we've been working on these cool new technologies for you, tools and technologies, and we're really excited today to be kicking off a new webinar season here at Qdabra. We've got, I think, every week for the next 2 months is booked for webinars. So we're finally got everything stacked up, and we're ready to show you what we've been working on. There's a lot of new topics. A lot of the topics will be related to Forms Viewer, Forms Designer. We've got some updates on Microsoft's changes that they're making. We've got an offline version of Forms Viewer. We've got other things that we'll talk about. And then we've got these new technology webinars, this being the first one in a while. We did a few last summer. Mel, can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
So first question before we get going is just a real quick poll here. 2 questions. First question is, are you planning to adopt AI for your business? You may not know. That's fine. We're just trying to get a quick idea here. Thank you for playing. It looks like about 43% are, well, 40% are yes, 50% are not sure, and the remainder are no. It's changing, but I'm just reading off the latest here. And we'll switch to the next poll, which is this big concern. What's your concern? Is it data security? Is it cost? Is it ease of deployment? Ease of use? Hallucinations? Something else maybe? Maybe this one's harder to. I think data security is a big one. That's why I put it at the top, and it looks like everyone's picking that as the option. Okay, there's another one here. Now we've got ease of deployment. Someone picked that. So that's great. Those are 2 options. We're really targeting those 2 today in our webinar. Thanks for answering these quick questions. So Mel, let's go to the next slide. So today we're really talking about how to support your staff with smarter search. And what does that mean? It means that you've got a lot of documents, and you need to search them in an intelligent way and provide answers. Okay, Mel, we went too fast. Let's go back to the previous slide. I want to give a shout out to Pete, Miller, and Chris at DCS. They've been an incredibly loyal customer of ours for, I think, over 10 years now. And without them, this webinar would not be possible. So we're very thankful that they have funded most of the work, not all of it, but a significant portion of it. And I want to just state that up front here. We're also going to be showing their logo on and asking Pete and Chris for their take later in this webinar. This webinar is scheduled to be about 20 minutes long. So let's go to the value prop now. Let's go to the next slide. So the key thing is, let's see, how are we adopting AI? Well, we want to adopt AI to enable these scenarios to support our staff, whether it be validating forms or whether it be helping them get an answer over a document set. So the idea is you've got a SharePoint site, or maybe not, but you've got a bunch of documents and you want to allow smart search over those documents and specifically have users ask any question, and it's more like a chat bot. So it's like ChatGPT. It answers and creates a question for you, but you're not sharing your documents with ChatGPT. You're actually using this retrieval augmented generation tool, and this is what we're going to be showing today. It automatically updates documents when they change. It helps the staff get better answers quickly, more quickly, and we have a number of innovations that we're going to be talking about today that no one else has so far as we've seen. This is all very popular right now. These RAG systems, retrieval augmented generation systems, are all the rage, so to speak, in the AI verse. So we're going to show you a couple things that we've done that nobody else has done or that we haven't seen. One of them is these test benchmarks, using a similarity score. There are test benchmarks out there, but none of them use what we're going to show you today. We have a kill switch, so you can actually turn, with the test sets, you can actually turn your LLM into an FAQ. That's pretty cool. We'll show that. And of course, you've got switchable options. You can configure it to use any one of the LLMs out there. You can even do offline with a large language model that is open source. Yeah, so let's go to the next slide. I think we have it now. Mel, you're on.
Yeah, I'm excited. Awesome. So here we are on a SharePoint site. The first thing you're going to want to do to open the app, or I'm going to actually show you how to upload, and really think of this as deploying the solution into your site. So you have a SharePoint site. You're going to install Forms Viewer. It's downloadable from the SharePoint store. And then click on the Manage Templates here. And we're just going to upload a new template instance just so you can see how easy it is to get this into your Forms Viewer environment. So I picked the wrong template. Let me make sure I've got the correct one. So this one I'm going to call demo, and just create a new group for it and click upload. I'm going to allow anonymous users, and we'll show you how that's working later. For now, let me check that box and upload my template. And when it's done, we can open the form, because it's a form. And the first thing that we're going to see here is the chat interface. So let's see, I'm logging in as an admin. I'm a SharePoint user in my site here. And so it's going to show me the logo real quick here. There you go. So we're using the DCS logo and the icon here. So there are a couple of options for me as an admin. We've got these tabs here, which we'll also show later. But let's focus on the chat tab for a second here. We're going to begin asking questions. So let me ask something generic, like what's the weather like in Kobe, Japan today? Something like that, right? And let's see if we get any answers for this question. So it says it's out of scope because, yeah, and it's also providing some summary there that was specified by the administrator. So next I'm going to ask something that might be relevant to, like, something maybe business related. What is the population in Japan? And okay, I'll tell you that I don't have any document yet for this specific to address this question either, so get the same response there. But here I'm going to go into the Documents tab and show you how, as an admin, I can upload a document that would respond to those kinds of questions. So I'm going to pick a PDF, and I have here a population PDF, and just click Upload. So then any questions that would, that are in this PDF will be addressed. So aside from that, I'm gonna add some questions here manually. Look at my cheat sheet. Sorry.
And this is really the query answer sets. This is one of the key features. We're going to talk more about this. If this is kind of weird to you, we'll talk more about this later. But basically, the idea here is that we're synthetically generating a set of answers that are the ground truth, essentially, so that you can compare the system as documents change to make sure that it's, the accuracy is maintained. You're not having regressions. You can see it synthetically generates a question, an answer here, and we're going to actually override that. So Mel's going to type in. So we get the synthetic answer using the large language model, but we're going to actually override that and say 0 humans, unknown number of aliens. We're all transfixed with the 3-body problem this week, so we're talking about aliens. Sorry. We've got our first question about the aliens. No, it's not. It's will qDocChat work with on-prem Qdabra and SharePoint? Yes, it will. Great question. We can deploy this next week for you if you're one of our early adopters. And we're going to have a special offer at the end with the early adopters. You can see Mel's going to be adding a few more questions here, but yeah, one of the really big benefits here is because it's just a form, you can just deploy it. Right now, it does use an embedding database that is Pinecone, which is a cloud-based provider, but we're looking at providing the option of using Milvus, which is an on-prem version, so that for complete security, data security, you won't have to worry about cloud-based embedding databases. You can switch the large language model that's used for the generation of the answer today. You can switch it from an online provider like OpenAI's GPT-4 or Claude 3 So Anthropic's Claude 3 Opus or whatever, or one of the Mistral if you've got something running locally. A lot of the open source models actually don't come with everything that you need to run them locally. I think Grok is the only one that does right now. Even Mistral, they leave some stuff out. So now I'm just trying to talk around as you're adding these. Are you done adding the questions? I'll just shut up then.
Yeah, we're done adding manual questions. Thanks, Patrick. So now that I've uploaded my PDF, my document on population, I can ask the same question, and let's see if this time we're gonna get an answer back that is, gonna actually give something helpful, which is right here. And this is extracted from that, again, the PDF that I just uploaded. It's generated synthetically. If I ask this, one of the questions that
go to the debug. Yeah? Show the debug first here. So show that that question. There's this debug. Click on the icon below it, the expand icon, right below the question. Not that one. For the answer of the chat.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Here, expand the search results.
This is showing that these are the chunks, the results that came from that document, whereas before we had none. And we can just verify that, yeah, it looks like it's got that information in it. Cool.
Yeah, it's showing us that it pulls that information from the document, this population PDF document that we just uploaded. And as a user, I can like this because this is what I'm actually looking for. Otherwise, I can dislike it, and we can rate it as an out-of-date answer or bad search results or what have you. So then the admins later can see what kind of feedback they get from users and improve whatever there needs to be improved, right? So, like this. And all this chat history, by the way, gets saved as sessions, which I'll show you really soon here. So for now, I think I'm going to ask the manual, remember the manual question we entered before. So I'm going to say, what's the population in Mars? I guess this is still going to not going to return anything because this ChatGPT or the LLM still doesn't know what the population is in Mars, right? But we've got a toggle here in the settings tab that you can, switch. This is the kill switch that we're talking about to turn off LLM integration. Like the system or this app is just gonna pull answers or questions and answers from the ones that your admin manually added. So I turned that off and I saved it. And if I go back to my chat tab here and ask this same question, because we know that the question is up there now, let's see if we get the answer that we also entered manually. There we go. So yeah, you want to talk more about that, Pat?
Well, just this is one of the features that as we're developing our test bench, back in August, September of last year, we had this idea that, gee, wouldn't it be great? Like, let's say the system is behaving weird, like somebody uploaded a whole bunch of new documents and that threw the accuracy off dramatically. But because you've been diligent as an admin and you've been curating your query, your question answer sets, and you can actually synthetically generate all those questions. You can actually have the AI generate questions from the docs too. If you've done a good job of curating your test bench, then you can just back off to that. So that gives you a immediate, kill switch to appease people who are freaking out because of the hallucinations. Now, we haven't seen a lot of hallucinations with GPT-4 or Claude 3. We got a really good prompt in the system that prevents that, and we're looking at we got a temperature setting of, I think, close to 0, so it's very precise. So we haven't really seen hallucinations with this. Maybe Pete and Chris have at DCS, but in their testing, but we haven't really. But you can always turn it off at a moment's notice and just back off to the queries, the known good frequently asked questions, right, with the admin approved answers. So I think that's all I got, Mel. Sorry.
Sure thing. So I'd like to show you the rest of the tabs here real quick. So this is the settings tab we went here before. Only admins will have the permissions to view this. You can customize your logo, your icon. The icon is what's showing here in the responses and also up there. And the I'm sure you saw the introduction text before, right? It was showing our logo there. And yeah, changing your company name there and specifying keys, which is important in specifying your API keys for your vector database. We're using Pinecone nowadays, and then your large language models there. So you saw the Documents tab. It lists all the documents that you have uploaded. Let's look at the question sets for this. These were the ones that we previously entered. That's how you can see those questions. You can delete, edit, add more, what have you. We've got paging going on to make sure that our form is performing nicely. We can display like more than 25 per, those things for QA batch runs here. We'll talk more about this later in our actual test bench site, but here it shows you the batch runs that were previously run here and some numbers. A list of users. Here is the tab where you can add the users you'd like to give access to this form. If the user does not belong here in this list, they won't be able to access your form. Phone numbers will be helpful if they are external users. We do support external users, meaning they're not in your SharePoint site as a user, as a member, right? And they're only accessing the form externally using their phone number. They're going to receive a text, an SMS in there for that code in their phone. We're going to demo that soon here, and you can assign those roles as well. For the sessions, I talked about the chat history. This was from the previous testing I was doing. And again, you can use these, you can look at this tab to view what kind of exchange the user and your chat GPT had. And maybe if you're seeing that this wasn't the right answer or whatnot, or they did put a thumbs up or a thumbs down there, it catches your attention, and you can decide what to do with it. Let's actually show you saving my session here. I'm going to end this chat. When I do, oops, looks like our last question there was not answerable. So there's one bug right there. I'm going to check and see if we've actually have as a session for that. I think it did not generate here. This was still the one last. Yeah, I think I'll just show that session history for the external user for the latest demo.
Great. Okay, so yeah, quick summary of the value prop then. Very easy to add to your SharePoint site. You do have to have API keys for your language model and Pinecone. We're actually doing an early adopter program, and we're happy to help customers adopt it, and we are providing API keys for a limited time, so you wouldn't even have to do that to actually start testing it if you're one of our 10 early adopters. We have a the documents are not sent to the AI, they're embedded in a database which is currently using Pinecone, but essentially you're keeping the documents private. Now we are still searching the embedding database, getting the chunks back, the sentences that match those queries, and those sentences are sent to the language model to fashion or to create, generate an answer. So it's not, obviously they could try to, well, it would be hard to replicate the entire documents with queries. That would be impossible. So there is a level of security here, and that's one of the benefits of the RAG system. The test bench is key for keeping a track and a record of accuracy. So you actually can run this test bench. We'll show it in a second. After every week, when you have big document changes, if you have a script that runs every week, we have a Power Automate will give you that updates all the documents based on what changed. And if you can run the bench test questions over again every time the documents get updated and see how things change in terms of the score, the accuracy. Let's go to the next slide now. So this is a little history. We started working on this literally a year ago, and we were one of the first ones that discovered this retrieval augmented generation idea. May, actually. Microsoft was doing their initial talk, I think in May, about RAG, and we were already working on it, and we were shocked that we were so far ahead of the pack but we just come up with it as a reasonable approach. There were a few papers written about this kind of an approach earlier, so that was kind of cool. We did some demos. We did demo to Pete, I guess, initially in June, and they started funding us on this in I think late August or early September. We've had lots of progress over the months, over the year, and this just kind of just shows that. No, let's go to the next slide. So this is kind of an architectural diagram of the data flow. Pretty self-explanatory. You can see there that right now we're using those two cloud services, Pinecone and one of the LLMs. In the future, we're hoping to provide support for on-prem as well. Next slide. So, this is what RAG is. We're going to send you the deck after we finish the 4-question survey at the end here, so you can take a look at it. It'll also be on our YouTube channel, but basically this describes what retrieval augmented generation is. It is a low-cost way of creating customized chatbots for your data without sharing your data with the LLM. The other approach is fine-tuning. That takes a lot more work. The benefit of RAG is huge. In fact, that's why it's been so. I think that's why everyone's adopting RAG right now, because it's cheap. It's very easy to add, to create these systems. I think the big problem they're having is this testing, so that we don't know of any other company that's really doing the same kind of similarity scoring that we're doing. The testing framework, even last week, actually, Netflix had released a paper. Netflix does a lot of research on AI, and they released a paper saying that cosign really wasn't a very good way to evaluate, query results. We agree. We actually agreed, 3 or 4 months ago. We came up with our own. So the other differentiators we've got, in addition to the similarity score on the test bench, is the fact that it's just a form. That means that you can configure it. Mel, let's show how you can configure the form in the Forms Designer.
Sure, yeah. So here we have a design button here that opens the form in the Forms Designer, Forms Designer, and we can just switch to the main view. The dashboard one is on. We're showing to people. I think I'm just going to change, what do you think here? Site info instance. Yeah, let's change. Let's do this. Try to do this right now. If I show you back, switch you back to my admin, it says instance here. So if I change that to like instance settings, just to show you a demo here, I'm going to save and I'm going to refresh the form. Refresh our session. Okay, that's saved. Let me refresh here, and you'll see their change got committed instantly here. Going back to the settings tab, right there is your change.
Cool. Yeah, so let's go try to finish the slides now. Thanks for showing that. That's great. Yeah, so obviously our form technology is, we've been providing it as a replacement for customers with InfoPath, but it's much more than that. And this is a great example today. This form that Mel created, it's on Qdabra Forms. It allows you to quickly modify. You don't have to write code. You can write code if you want. You can extend it however you want. You can look at the stuff that's in it. I don't think there's a lot of code. Is there any code in it, Mel, that you wrote so far? It's just all web services, right?
Yeah, just web services.
Okay, next slide. And yeah, so let's go to the test bench and show them this other admin tool that is interesting. So this is this is a web page actually that we make available. Now this does require a little bit of installation, but if you click on Get Batch Run Data there now, so let's actually try to run a batch run for those 3 queries that you added. Let's just try this again. I know we tried this earlier, and it looks like it didn't finish, suggesting there's some problem with the server. But as an admin, you can go in here and you can run you can run batch runs on the whole set of documents, or you can pick a specific document or some set of documents. You can see here, we've got those 3 queries regarding aliens and Mars. And she's just going to click OK here. We're going to try to run this. The idea here is that whenever you've got a question, like you think that there's some error that you've got with like let's say a new document was uploaded and it caused your similarity score to go down across the board, and you're trying to debug it, then you'd have a way to do this manually, rerun these test sets on the back end. And it looks like I think it's not even showing up right at the top. I mean, where is that? If you refresh the page,
Yeah,
just do a refresh.
It says it's still running. The previous one is still running.
Yeah, so we got a bug there. But let's click on the 25 one for now. Let's just show them what this looks like. So you can see here that we've got 25 questions here. And we ran these a couple weeks ago, and you can see that you're getting kind of information back on the similarity score. So 3 of the questions were not answered correctly. So the similarity score, let's share out that slide now and let's show them what that is. So we came up with this similarity score because the other benchmarks, cosine and Euclidean distance, and there's others out there, they just weren't working. And we tried for many, many months to get cosine and Euclidean distance to do the right thing. But here, what you can see, this doesn't look like the latest slide, Mel. This looks like an older one. I think we changed this, right? Anyway, we have 850 queries in the system for 77 documents or 78 documents, or whatever it is. And you can see here that on February 1st, 523 was the score out of 850, which is the max. And we were able to improve it the day later and the week later from 62% roughly to 72%. If you do the math, 523 divided by 850 is about 62%. Now, what did we do to improve it? What we did was we improved some of the answers were hallucinated, so we fixed those. And we also had some answers that were too long, so we trimmed those down. Now, what's going on here is we're actually taking the generated answer and we're comparing it with the answer on record, the ground truth. And we're saying, what's the distance between these in the case of Euclidean distance or cosine? Or in the case of the similarity score, we're asking it to score it from 0 to 1 based on how similar it is, okay? Now you can see that the similarity score increased by 10 percentage points just in that 1 week that we have in this slide. But the Euclidean distance actually got worse, lower is better, and cosine got worse too, higher is better. So, but more importantly, there was very little variance. It was like, it was kind of like didn't change much at all for the cosine, and in Euclidean distance changed quite a bit, but in the wrong direction. So we're really not seeing much of a signal with these traditional benchmarks of using the Euclidean and cosine. And instead, we create our own one. And what we're using is the actual AI to run the comparison. Mel, can you show them the prompt and the actual scoring? I think it's a slide before that. Yeah, right there. Yeah, so we ended up coming up with this scoring criteria. And we asked the AI to compare the generated answer against the ground truth and use this scoring here. It's totally ad hoc. We created this on our own, and yet this system is still way better than the state of the art in terms of the usefulness of it, what we call the utility. Okay, Mel, let's go back to the test bench real quick. Let's get closure on that. So the test bench, which comes with this, you can see there's a similarity score. So we have it sorted in ascending. Let's click on one of the 0.8s, Mel. Yeah, why should staff, like just one of these questions here, that's good. So you can see here that the generated answer is this long answer here, the donor history questionnaire. The original answer is the one down below. And you can see that the similarity score was 0.8 there. So that we're using that prompt, the same one you just saw down below, now you can actually debug further. You can actually go in here and you can change the prompt. You can rerun it. If we click on this button at the top now, as an admin, you can go in here and you can retest it. Like you say, you're trying to debug this. One of the queries failed between document uploads. You can go in here and you can change the description. You can change the prompt. You can change the other parameters we're using for the RAG system. Top K is the number of chunks returned. threshold is really kind of is a cosine score. So it's actually not useful anymore because we're using similarity scores. Should get rid of that. So let's close that, Mel. And if you got questions, feel free to ask them. We're almost done. Let's go back to the slides and let's ask Pete or Chris for their take on this system. I see Chris here, and there's Pete. So Pete, I'm going to unmute you and Chris, and you guys can fight for the mic. Mel, do you have that slide that we added for them?
We're going to show him on LinkedIn, though.
What? Oh, LinkedIn? Yeah, that's right. We're just going to LinkedIn. Yeah, so Pete, Chris, just unmuted you. Thanks again for wonderful support on this project. Do you have anything you want to add or clarify?
Maybe it's because my microphone's not in the right place. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little weak, but you're audible.
Okay. I think I know. So I'll just speak up then. What the whole reason we did this is because within the regulated industry, this is a very common need for the staff, right? So you could imagine how time consuming it is to go through an entire set of documents, to be knowledgeable in that set of documents, and to be able to answer questions. So this whole approach really leverages this new technology. It speeds that process along tremendously for staff. And because we're always tying these things back to their original document, I think that was one of the critical features that we embedded into this particular application, which is the ability to actually go back and see the reference documents, because those are the things, at least within a regulated industry, that folks are going to have to fall back on in terms of, hey, I can get my answer really quick, but in order to actually do the right thing, I should be following the corresponding procedure. So it speeds that process along tremendously. And so I think it's a really exciting breakthrough for this technology and a particular use case.
Any highlights over the last? I guess it's been now. Well, it's been at least 7 months or so since we've been working on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the tremendous amount of progress that we've made and kind of going back and forth, I think this application does more than I would have hoped, in terms of the overall capability. But in addition, the folks who we've deployed it with really love the capability. It's so easy for them to now use to locate documents. They don't have to make a call to the QA person and say, hey, what is it? How do I do this? Right? We've even used examples where you can actually have, depending on the quality of your procedure, the AI will step through the process for you.
So they're using it today.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks. That's great. Mel, let's get back to the slides. I know we want to wrap up here. We're over on our time. Any questions for us? We've had 2 questions so far. Thanks, Perry, and thanks to Brian as well. Perry's question, which I did not read out, but I will now, is there a way or option for a combination of public data access along with private data? So we've been looking at this idea of, well, if there isn't an answer found in the documents that you've embedded in your private document store, should we tell the LLM to go try to fetch it from Google or some other online repository or some online tool? Go to Wolfram Alpha and calculate pi or something. And we've decided not to do that. Maybe Peter, you remember why, but I remember we had this conversation. Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 months ago, and we're like, well, we could do that, but then it might answer. It's just not valid because it's not part of the document set that's been administratively curated, right? It's kind of like,
right.
Why would we do that? Okay.
That's right. I mean, we're giving them a very specific set of guardrails here. and saying that, these are your policies and procedures. So in this particular case, the design was to not allow it to really kind of go outside and have the potential of bringing in information which might not be specific to your organization, right? So it was one of those sort of guardrails that we had set up just because of our use case.
Yeah, and the other Chris Miller, there's two Chris Millers on the call, and I think Chris at LCE has another comment here. I think we already did a shout out to you guys, but really want to thank you, Pete, for funding the majority of this work and being willing to share the use case in this demo. Thanks again for that. It's been a wonderful journey. We're really excited to help you, get more adoption of this tool. And I think anyway, if people have questions, you can ask Pete or me. We're happy to work on this together to help you deploy it. In terms of cost, if you're a Qdabra customer right now, as part of the early adopter program, we're not charging for the app. You do have to have an API key eventually with Pinecone or with one of your embedding databases and an LLM, but we will not be charging for the form itself, and we'll be providing some free support for the first 10 people who sign up. And then after that, it'll just be support. And you have to be a Qdabra customer, otherwise you're going to be going with Pete on this. So that's the kind of the situation right now. We got another question here from Bob. Thanks, Bob. So the question is, will this consume all document libraries? Yeah, so you can actually just set up on any site, and you can actually set up the flows to run once a week or manually. And the flows will look and see if the documents have changed, and we'll update them. And then you can also, it'll notify you of what changed, what the versions were before and after. It's also keeping all of this in the database behind the scenes. It's keeping a log of all the updates. Great question. So you can deploy this to any site in SharePoint. Multiple sites is fine too. And each site has its own document set. Any other questions for us? So Mel gets most of the credit for this wonderful UI. I mean, all of it, actually. The UI is all hers. We have a backend developer who's been working on the integration with these tools, the AI tool and Pinecone, the embedding database. And he's off today on leave with his wife. He took his wife to India for a medical checkup, but he's in Nepal actually, and his name is Samyong, and he's been critical on this as well. He's been a huge asset to the team. I think that's it. I just want to say thanks to everyone for waiting so long for our first webinar of the year. And we look forward to doing many, many more in the following weeks. And we'll upload the video to YouTube after we scrub it. Oh, one more thing, and that is today, actually, Andrew Ng, who's one of the Lumerat, what's the right word here? He's a luminary. He's one of the top AI researchers in the world. Andrew Ng, who is also now head of some AI fund, he invests in AI startups. He was at Sequoia giving a talk yesterday on the future of AI, and his letter is called deeplearning.ai, which I highly recommend. If you haven't subscribed to his newsletter, he sends it out once a week, and he always has a little advertisement in his newsletter. Today's advertisement was JavaScript RAG web apps. You can create your own web application that uses RAG capabilities to chat with your data, or you could just deploy our form and it will work out of the box. So that was my comment. Why bother with writing your own web app and code and everything when you can just deploy a form? It's that easy. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks so much, Pete. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. You guys have a great day. Any final comments?
No, thanks. Great job to everybody who was involved in the project. It's awesome.
We'll have many more demos to come, but look forward to that. Have a great day. Report questions in the survey, and we'll send you the slide deck. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thanks, Mel.
Everyone, bye. Thank you.